It's time for Where You Live with Gene and Tony, the show that's all about owning, buying, selling, renting, and association management. If it involves a home, we'll talk about it. Here's your chance to get your homeowner questions answered. From the Concierge Landscape Studios, here's Gene and Tony.
Needed the shelter of someone's arms, and there you were. Needed someone to understand my ups and
Welcome to Hour 2 of Where You Live with Gene and Tony. We are broadcasting live from the Concierge Landscape Studios, and the second hour is also sponsored by Extreme Exteriors. If you're just joining us, we are talking to psychologist and professor Dr. Gary Solomon from Nevada. He has coined a phrase called HOA syndrome, and believes that some of the tenants and basic ways that an HOA functions is causing people undue stress and anxiety. We'd love to hear from you today on the subject too. Tony, the number for folks to call?
Is 651-289. 4488.
There we go.
My arms weren't quite long enough for me to read it this time.
And Dr. Solomon, we appreciate you being on the air here with us this morning. Now, you were talking a little bit about what HOA syndrome is. I'd like you to spend some time talking to us and our listeners. What do you believe is the root cause of HOA syndrome in individuals?
The root cause, using basically a psychological paradigm, is harassment. The individual reports feeling harassed, unsafe in feeling and living in their own home. They don't feel like their property is their own anymore. They feel trapped, and all of those feelings and a lengthy list more.
And who do you think, in your opinion, are the ones that are to blame for this?
Well, I think that there are a couple of origins. Number one, I think that neighborhoods, and as it turns out, the psychological profiles are consistent here. It pits neighbor against neighbor. A neighbor walks out of their door, they see a trash can, they call the management company sends a letter. The individual receiving the letter now becomes paranoid. Who's after me? Why are they after me? Why are they doing this? And this escalates in the neighborhood, very much going back to your Stephen King.
Well, excuse me, that is quite a large leap. A person receiving a letter for breaking a minor rule or regulation. That happens. People receive those in school, in colleges,
from the city.
From the city. If you leave garbage cans out, if you have a car that doesn't have proper license plates on it, you receive all kinds of notices from other people. Why is it in an HOA that this becomes a major leap and now someone goes into victimhood here?
The difference is the vigilance. There's someone driving around the neighborhood on a daily or every other day basis looking for these events to occur. They're responding to anonymous phone calls from other neighbors. Neighbors don't like a neighbor. Neighbors don't like a plant, a pot, a garage door, a garage can, any number of things. The world around us, that is the general community that we live in within a city, we don't have that kind of vigilance.
I see. So the harassment's coming, you're saying the harassment is coming from neighbors. And I know from reading your literature, you also blame other factions for the harassment.
Yes. Another origin of that harassment comes from the board itself. There are populations of individuals who adapt themselves well to being on a board. Ideally, although not in every case, the board members are not being paid. They're not being compensated.
But aren't they elected?
They are elected.
Okay.
But they're not being compensated. There's no pay involved.
Right.
So
allow me, excuse me for interrupting here, Dr. Solomon, but a quote, and this is from, I guess, a letter or treatise you've put together on this. You said, you state, HOAs strategically begin to focus on the homeowner's minor and often non-existent infractions. The purpose for these attacks is to create an income stream. This income stream makes its way into the pockets of the management companies. You are making that sound in that statement, sir, that you feel that there is something deliberate, intentional, and insidious by others in what they're doing to homeowners. Is that correct? Am I reading you correctly?
Yeah, I would take it a little bit further than that. I think you're being gentle about it, and I appreciate that. No, these are going into the hands of antisocial personality people. These are corrupt. These are scams. They operate like cartels. I'm not saying all of them. Some of them operate very fairly, very nice, and I've been in those HOAs. But some have now recognized that this is an enormous income stream, and the way that they can line their pockets is simply ride around and look for a particular problem, an issue. Let that issue escalate into a fine. Let the fine now go to collections.
And who is making this money? Who is getting this money?
Well, this is oftentimes difficult to track. The board, that is the HOA themselves, may end up with the funds. The collection companies certainly end up with a fee. The management companies certainly end up with a fee.
That's not always the case either.
Right. It's some case.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Well, you said it's hard to track, and if it's hard to track, then how do you know that is going on?
Well, I've been
for example, let me ask you this. Give me an example. You said that you know that this exists. Can you give me the name of an HOA where the board of directors or management company has indeed enriched their pockets with this money? Give us a name.
River Landing HOA, Calico Ridge HOA, Ancedonia. I mean,
So the HOA where you're living, you think is being enriched. The board of directors are personally.
It's that's difficult to know. It does appear that they are, and there are a number of cases nationally where audits have been done, and they have found that board members are taking money or in some way.
Well, you're being very general here, sir, and vague. And I think, in all fairness to our listeners, unless if there is something like that that's going on, then we're talking about something that's criminal in nature, and there should be, it would be under investigation. There would be a something involved
Specifics.
with it being pursued by the city's attorney or a district attorney on something like this when it's a criminal case.
That's exactly right. There are criminal cases going on right now. But what's brand new is that some of these cases are now turning into a tort. And when that tort case then matriculates its way into the system, that's when I believe that cases are going to be more widely known. The FBI is now getting involved. I'm receiving calls literally from all over the country. I'm also an expert witness on some cases where there has been violence, murder. There are an increased number of HOAs that are now hiring security guards for the meetings. One has to question, why is this happening?
You know, Dr. Solomon, I'd be very interested in knowing how to find the stories or find the information on some of these things you're talking about. We do a segment every week on our show, Property Management in the News and Homeowner Associations in the News. We haven't found anything about murder or FBI involvement. So where would you direct us to find that?
Go ahead and type into your search engine, Arizona HOA meeting murder, and you'll find a case going on.
All right, I'm going to look that up. That's a good one. That's enough to start. But I want to ask you something. Before it gets to the point of lawsuits or torts or criminal activity or murder, aren't there processes and systems in place for homeowners to be heard in their homeowners association and to resolve these problems long before they reach this point?
The answer to your question is absolutely, and they have been so well orchestrated and so well designed that the homeowner as an individual oftentimes reports feeling powerless, feeling like they don't know what to do, feeling like they don't have the funds to support this. And I have been involved in a number of cases where the money stream to protect oneself comes out of the pocket of the homeowner, but the money stream that protects the HOA board comes out of the insurance company, and oftentimes that HOA board will threaten the increase in dues if someone finds or someone wants to go ahead and protect themselves.
Excuse me, we need to take another break right now, Dr. Solomon. If you're just joining us, folks, we're talking about murder, racketeering, and laundering of money in HOAs, and that's on a good day. Our guest is Dr. Gary Solomon, who's talking about the HOA syndrome. We're going to talk more with him after these messages.